Hi everyone. I'm coming on today to show you how to make some little sewn scrappy quote clusters. It's probably something that everybody knows how to do, but it dawned on me that maybe I should explain what I do. So maybe you'll have a little trick that I'll have a little trick that is different than what you do and make it easier for you. That's all I'm hoping. I have a project I'm working on, and I am using Picasso quotes in the project. I mean, it could be your words, it could be anything you're doing, but sometimes it's easier for me to have the little clusters of quotes ready to go. Now, I'm using my painty papers in this project, but you could use scrapbook papers or anything you want. And I'm doing some like grungy stuff, so these are going to be ready to go. You could put them on a tag, you could put them on a journal page, however you want to use them. I just thought I'd show you the steps I go through. So this is what we're going to make. This is a piece of brown paper bag. You could use craft paper, you could use cardstock. I just love the paper bag and I love the torn edges. So I just tear off a piece of my paper bag. Then I need some quotes, and like I said, these are Picasso quotes that I'm working with. I just got them off the internet. They're all by Picasso, and I printed them out so that I have them. But you could print out your own words. You could handwrite. Oops, that one's tearing funny. That's all right. It's torn. That's what matters. Oh dear. I like torn edges, but you could cut your edges. You do not have to tear them. With this project especially, I think that the torn edges are kind of what's making me like it. And I'm just going to create a little batch of these. Okay. Now, the next thing we're going to do is we're going to tear up our piece of paper bag into some different size shapes. That may be a little big. So see, I'm just tearing randomly. Then I have some scraps of my painty papers, and I'm going to get some of this white off of it. It also gives me a torn edge. And right now I'm not going to tear both edges just because I might hide it underneath something else. So I wait until I have something laid over the top of it to decide. Like this. And that's how I'm going to put it together. And let me show you. Right now, I'm going to use a glue stick, and whatever glue you use to tack these together, and these are really just tacked together because I'm going to actually sew them, but whatever it is, you want to make sure that it's a glue that dries. nice and not tacky. Tacky glue is not a good idea for this project. It's actually really a bad glue for this project. You want something that's thin, it dries, flat, smooth, and dries out, because you don't want to put a bunch of sticky glue through your sewing machine. So, oh, I didn't realize I didn't tear the ends off of those quotes, and we definitely want both ends of them torn. Well, that's two. There we go. Actually, I think I like it with more of the paper showing. There we go. Yep. And I just hold it there and put some glue stick on it. And what I'm doing really is using the glue stick instead of a pin. This has got too much white space. Now remember, we're going to sew on these, so there we go. I'm going to do a couple more, and then we'll go over to the sewing machine and I'll show you how to make them look all scrappy and messy. Okay. Hello everyone. We're going to do the stitching on our little clusters now. One of the things that I can tell you is, first, let me apologize for all of the shadows. I'm going to try to stay leaned back. If things get out of frame, I apologize, but I don't have lights over here by the sewing machine, and so there's a lot of shadow. I apologize ahead of time. One of the things I like about the stitching is to make it messy. To make it messy, you want a stitch a thread that kind of shows up. It might be fun to use some red thread on some of them, but for this particular project that I'm doing, I'm going to make them all black. If you're doing them ahead of time for different projects, you might choose to change your thread in between. You're going to thread your machine just like normal, as if you were going to sew on fabric. The one thing I will tell you is that sewing on paper does, well, I don't want to tell you damage the needle, but it wears the needle. And you really should change your needle. You shouldn't go on and sew fabric with the needle you've been sewing on paper. You also want to clean and oil your machine really well when you're done sewing on paper. Most paper, unless you've bought acid-free, has some acid in it. More importantly, the little pieces and the fibers of the paper will suck up the oil that needs to be in your machine, and it's going to get your machine dirty. Fabric has fibers that separate when the needle goes through them. Paper fibers don't really separate. What they do is punch. The needle punches a hole every time it stitches. So to do these, and the messiness comes from kind of how you sew it. To do these, I've already, as you saw earlier, stuck them together. And they're nice and dry. Don't go from glue to the sewing machine immediately. It's really the best if you let that glue stick dry. Now I am going to set my machine for a plain old straight stitch, but I'm going to lengthen the stitch out. Not every sewing machine has the same stitch lengths. Mine goes from 0 to 5. And I have it set a little over 3. So a nice longer than sewing stitch is a good one to use. Now you're going to put your presser foot down and you're going to sew forward. And it's fun to just not be straight. Now then you're going to make your machine sew backwards. However you make it sew backwards. Sometimes they have little levers, sometimes they have push buttons. I'm trying to keep my hands out of the way, sorry guys. And I like to sew backwards just a little bit and then come back forward again. And I like to make my stitches all go wonky. Let me see if my hand's in the way, sorry. Now if you run into a spot where you really want to move it, just raise your presser foot, say, and turn it. Well, I'm still going backwards. We really kind of need to go forwards now. The other thing I like is the threads between them, but I don't like to waste thread. So while that one I pulled out, this thread is a little long, I think, to go in my book. I'll probably cut it like this. But if you pull them out every single time, what happens is that what happens is that you waste thread. So I'm going to show you another one. Oh, this one isn't a good one because okay, I do apologize for the pinging on my phone. All right, let's work on this one. Now what I was trying to show you, and let me just get this one stitched up. Okay, so I'm going to call that one done, and I want to go on to the next one. Well, because of that, instead of taking that one out and cutting it loose and having a really long thread that I'm going to have to trim off, I'm going to pick it up. Always pick up your presser foot, and I've got about 3 or 4 inches of thread there. Can you see that? Yes. Okay. And I'm going to just start sewing again. And once I've started sewing, I'll go halfway in between and cut them so that I'm not wasting thread. It's a sewing trick from forever, but if you're not familiar with sewing, now I do want some threads, or I would have put them real close together. The big thing I really wanted you to see is that by using your reverse button, lengthening out your stitch, you just get this fun, messy look. With your little pieces. Now they're ready. If you've got a little stash of these, then you can stick them in your books wherever you want. Now I'm going to just be quiet for a few minutes and sew and let you watch. And this one definitely doesn't have everything it needs. Okay, guys, I think you get the idea. One of the reasons that using the reverse works so well is that you get double threads in places. See, right here's a good indicator. Oh, I got paint on my finger, sorry. The stitch line comes up, and then when you reverse, it backs right up on itself. So you get these thick and thin lines. Turning around isn't always going to give you that. It's not that you can't turn around, it's just that you might as well use the things on your machine that makes it easy. I just realized that this one, it's just missing a little bit. I think it needs a little more. I'll go in, but that's okay, because the more little threads we have hanging, I think the cuter things are. So going back with another line of stitching doesn't hurt my feelings. Anyways, guys, I hope that this gave you a little piece of information that you didn't have before. I never know. I mean, I'm sure that most of you know how to sew on paper, but at the same time, maybe you don't. So, go have fun. Make some art. Bye-bye.